Hello, this video is on dating the book of Hebrews. Let me share my screen. Okay, the New Testament book of Hebrews. This little papyrus here is papyrus P46, and it's one of the very early New Testament papyruses. This shows the beginning of the book of Hebrews. Hebrews, unlike all the other letters in the New Testament, Hebrews is anonymous. We don't know who the author is, and it doesn't say it in the book. A lot of different people have been suggested, from Paul, Clement, Barnabas, Luke, Aquila, Priscilla, Apollos. One can think of reasons why those people might have been authors, and also one can think of reasons why each one of those probably wasn't. Bottom line is we don't know. And in this video series, I'm not really doing authors so much as we're doing the date of writing for the book. Although we don't know who the author is, it is apparent that the people that received and read the letter did know. And maybe because the person who gave it to them said who the author was, or for whatever reason, it's clear from the context that they did know the author. It's not signed. In the book of Hebrews, the recipients are clearly Jewish. You can tell from the very first verse on that this was a book written to Jewish believers, hence the name Hebrews. One of the ways we know that a little bit about the context of the book is it refers to our brother Timothy, as if the readers also knew Timothy. So some of the people in the circle there with Timothy would be people like Paul and Aquila and Priscilla and some of the others. Um, so everybody knew who it was writing this book, but we just don't have that. The book also says, "All the saints from Italy greet you," which may mean that the book was written from Italy. If it was written from Rome, you would have thought it would have said Rome, but it doesn't say that. It says Italy. So it might have been written from Rome in Italy or somewhere else in Italy. Or there's another way that you could look at it, and that's to say that some Italians are present with the author, and he's not in Italy, but he's sending the letter back to a Jewish congregation in Italy. We don't really know. We can say with high confidence that the book of Hebrews was written before the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD. It's more clear in Hebrews probably than any other book in the New Testament. It's clear enough that there's really a consensus on it. Many critics like to push back the date of New Testament books to as late a date as they can, but it's kind of impossible to do that with Hebrews because there's so much in Hebrews that talks about things like the work of the priests. The fact that Jesus Christ is a great high priest is one of the themes of the book, and it compares it to the work of the priests, which is apparently ongoing as the book is written. It just talks a great deal about what the priests do and what is done in the temple. And so this has to be before 70 AD, when the temple was destroyed and the work of the priests had ceased. You just couldn't write the kind of things that are written in Hebrews without some sort of a caveat or explanation if you were writing after the destruction of Jerusalem and the temple. This is just one example. Like I say, there's many places. It's practically a theme in the book, but this is one example of what I mean. Hebrews 8, 1 through 5 says, "Now the point in what we are saying is this: we have such a high priest, one who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, a minister in holy places, in the true tent that the Lord set up, not man. For every high priest is appointed to offer gifts and sacrifices. Thus it is necessary for this priest also to have something to offer. Now, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest at all, since there are priests who offer gifts according to the law. They serve a copy and shadow of the heavenly things." So it's contrasting the work of Jesus, the great high priest, with the high priests which exist on earth and what other priests are currently doing, currently when the author is writing. And I referred to this before. It talks about Timothy. "You should know that our brother Timothy has been released, with whom I shall see you if he comes soon. Now, not only does this mention Timothy, but it implies that Timothy was in jail. He was in jail and now he's been released. So I guess that's good. But no other book, either from Acts, which has pretty much all the goings on of Paul in the later part of his life, and has a lot about Timothy in it too, along with the letters that Paul writes. No other book has anything about Timothy being in jail. And this suggests that probably the book of Hebrews is written after the last Pauline epistle. Uh, the last one, according to the way I've got things dated, is the letter that Paul writes to Second Timothy when Paul is not in. Paul is in prison, but Timothy is obviously not in 63 AD. And so that gives us a kind of a narrow time frame between 63 and 70 AD that the book would want to fall. That would be consistent with that time period, which was a time period where Roman persecution under the Emperor Nero had just begun for the Christians. So my conclusion on this is that Hebrews was written after all of Paul's epistles, but before the destruction of Jerusalem. That would make it about 66 AD. You could say plus or minus 3 years in there, but that would be the time frame, and that date is probably pretty close. So that's the story I've got on Hebrews. Thank you for watching. I hope to come back soon with another video.